Alright everybody, Baron here. Welcome to M&B2 Bannerlord. Now, I have a question for you guys. How many of you guys played the Mount & Blade games over the last, decade? Over the last couple years, you know, Mount & Blade Warband, Mount & Blade Napoleonic Wars, which I played a lot. In fact, I think there's even some videos on this channel in the early days before this channel had a true identity and I was really even focusing on it. But this right here is some footage of basically, I got to play the game, but I wasn't able to record. Taleworlds didn't have recording hardware set up at their booth, at their game stations, right? But this is the battle that I played. So while it's not me playing, I did get a fight in this battle so I can share the experiences with you. Now, part of the reason might be because they probably had a guy who knew what they were doing. But the fun part was getting to play this game after not having played Mount & Blade in a while and kind of, you know, relearn the skills. It's like riding a bicycle, right? Except when other people are on bicycles with pointy sticks trying to stab you on your bicycle with pointy sticks. So, but this is a battle where we're playing as cavalry, right? And you're a cavalry sergeant, so that means you're not in charge of the entire battle. You're actually fighting for what I would imagine could be a liege lord or, you know, a faction, and you're in charge of a cavalry contingent, right? So you're in charge of a couple other men on horses with shields and spears and swords, and you're running down enemies. But if you look in the background there's this hill. The enemy faction in this battle has much better infantry. So what I was told when I was playing this is what you're advised to do as cavalry is you're supposed to screen your soldiers so your infantry don't get overwhelmed, and definitely protect this group of crossbowmen, because the group of crossbowmen are pretty critical for victory in this game. So anyway, real quick, taking a step back as you just kind of sink all of this in. Now, I want to know if the Kingdom of Toast should be put forth and created in Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Is this another game, another realm where the Kingdom of Toast needs to prevail? Look at this. Look at those infantry charging in. The cavalryman's kind of picking and choosing his battles carefully. Where should he go? Ooh, a pretty gruesome blow with the lance right there as the cavalry's kind of clashed right there. And you can see, what I love is like when someone's dehorsed or dies, right? The horses are still running around the battlefield kind of aimlessly, not knowing what to do since they're not, you know, being directed by, you know, their knight anymore. But this was a really cool battle. We're also going to get to see some footage of playing as a Mongolian horse archer. And the cool thing about that was the historical accuracy they went with. Mongolian horse archers are only able to fire to the left, you know, because primarily right-handed and whatnot. Oh, look at this. Dude, just epic. Swinging in there with the sword. And you got the lance on your back right there, shield in hand. There's an arrow sticking out of his waist. But yeah. So what I want to know is who's played the Mount & Blade games? Who's excited for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord? Because I think when you think about like the game and kind of like the news and the hype around it, it was really hot. Probably at its hottest at Gamescom last year, I believe it was, where they showed off the siege footage. And the siege footage was epic. And those videos have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm wondering who got to play it at Gamescom. I'm hoping that I'll get to go to Gamescom this year. Oh, yeah. So basically, you only what I like about this is you're only in charge of a select amount of soldiers. So you don't have to feel responsible for this huge battlefield, right? Just a key component, the cavalry, right? You got to do hammer and anvil style tactics. You got to take advantage of the situation on the battlefield, run down archers like this, and just like hit them with your horse or stab them with your sword, use your lance. You have quite a few options. You could even get off your horse and fight, right? So, and you can see that Deathert there. How would you pronounce that? Deathart or Deathert? Deathert. I don't know. But you can see this like in the top, the red and green bars is basically the manpower. And what's cool is it's not always just a fight to the death. Units will retreat. And it's not like the entire army retreats, but certain groups, depending on, you know, what happens, right? Oh, look at this knight, and ooh, a devastating blow with the sword to his midsection, but looked like he had pretty decent armor. So, and look at that, there's arrows sticking out of the shields. You know I love arrows on shields. I don't know what it is. It's got to be something with tabs. But I had a great time playing this game, and I might play it again tomorrow. Look at this, getting off your horse and then just kind of duking it out with the enemy infantry, who's very well armored, very well trained. They're very difficult, and here comes your liege lord. You know, his army right here, and so just the battle gets gruesome and all kinds of close quarters combat with sword and shield. And you can see the guys with the crossbows on their back pulling out their swords to finish off this battlefield, as it looks like it's going to be a clear victory for your faction. Look at this poor guy. He does not look like he's very well armed or armored, and as a result he got run down. But yeah, so for those of you who's been keeping up with E3, you know, that's what I want to know, because this is a game that's been on my radar for like 2 years now. Mount and Blade 2 Warband. I think it was announced a long time ago, and it's been in development for quite a bit. So, and we get to see these battles, but we didn't get to see what I did not get my hands on, was basically the single player experience, like the overworld. You know, where you can build, like, you can have towns, you can have empires, you can just work as a mercenary, you can work as a trader. There are a great number of opportunities in Mount and Blade 2, or like in Mount and Blade general. Alright, so this is the horse archer sergeant gameplay where you're fighting for the Mongolians. Now what was fun is archery, I think, is pretty tricky to kind of get used to at first in Mount and Blade. You gotta account for arrow drop. You gotta account for the movement of the enemies, trying to pick the soft spots, because if you hit armor, it's not gonna be nearly as effective. And what's interesting is you can't fire to the right, you can only fire to the left. So you can command your soldiers. There's a nice little bit of command menu that you just got to see. But I remember when I was playing, good lord, I think I missed my first 10 arrow shots. And you've got 21 arrows, it looks like, right? So, and the army's running right here. It's just like, this is really cool, because if you think about one of the most devastating weapons in the history of warfare, it's gotta be, for its time, the Mongolian horse archer. They ran absolutely amok through Europe, right? And look at this, trying to shoot arrows at distance. You know, they're all densely packed. You can see the arrows flying from your troops. And it looks like, what is this? Is this enemy cavalry? Or infantry? Oh, that's definitely an archer contingent, because there's some arrows flying back. And then you can see these cavalry contingents. Now, horse archers are going to be faster than traditional cavalry because less armor, you know, and the Mongolians are trained in the ways of kind of hitting and running. So, this guy's already down to 10 arrows, man. I felt like I had a lot of arrows. So I'm curious to see what happens when he's done, because he's just letting them fly. He's down to 7. He's already expelled 2/3 of his ammunition, the starting bit of 21 arrows, right? So what's going to happen? And you can see even he is having a difficult time. So he's pulling out saber and shield, and then back to the arrows. So it is kind of cool that, like, after letting loose all of your arrows, you can switch back to kind of a melee focus. And I really, really enjoyed being a cavalryman, because the speed and mobility you have on the battlefield, you got to take advantage of, like, what the battlefield presented to you. And I remember playing, there was like 3 battles we got to take place in, and one was considered hard. And the first time I played that, I got absolutely wrecked, because I ran my cavalry straight into enemy heavy infantry, and that is conventionally not a sound idea. Look at this, get someone in the head. And actually, my first arrow hit in the Mongolian horse archer gameplay was a headshot. I missed my first 10 shots, and then I got a headshot, and then I started to find my rhythm, and oh, it was a lot of fun. Look at this, see, you just kind of run in, infantry is engaging, and then your cavalry runs in and absolutely demolishes people. It's glorious, glorious and beautiful combat in Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. This is definitely a game I was excited to get my hands on. It's in my top 10 that I was looking for at E3. Here's another thing, guys. Do you think I should make a top 10 games that I saw and played and experienced at E3? I think it would be a lot of fun. It's something I'm very much interested in. But you can see in the top there that the enemy team is a little bit favored, but more or less it's pretty equal in terms of, like, you know, number of people up. I love the archers. Oh! These poor archers are out there trying to get their shots, and this guy's just coming around with this this saber and just letting loose. And look at the battlefield. Now this is a battlefield, guys. So, does the Kingdom of Toast expand into both the eastern and western? Look at this. This guy loves to dismount. I didn't dismount once, actually. I just ran down people. Ooh, that horse came out of nowhere. See, that was just like a rogue horse without a rider. And so it charged him low. Look at this guy. He's about to get surrounded. So he calls in his reinforcements as he plays a little defensive. And here's his allies. Look at that, letting loose arrows point blank. Blocking with his shield. Timing his strikes well, not perfectly, but as good as he can. And here comes his friend. Oh, that guy got taken apart right there. That guy's got an arrow sticking out of his shoulder. He's got to be hurting. Ooh, saber right to the throat. His buddies are coming in here to help distract the enemy forces. But kind of like the melee combat is what Mount and Blade is known for. If you guys have not been, familiar or never played a Mount and Blade game or mod. And that was another thing, is Mount and Blade has a lot of really rich mod support, and people have made some really, really cool things. It's another good example of why I think almost every developer should allow for mod support. Because the community is always going to have great ideas, and you as a studio, ooh, that was nice. Oh, look at that axe. I want an axe. I want to fight like a Viking where I don't think you can do two-handed, right? Where you have like a sword and an axe, but that would be fun. But the weapons, like you have bows and arrows. Look at all the weapons. There's all kinds of weapons on the ground. Look at all the different shields. And there's like what, a few enemy cavalry left, a few infantry running around. Look at this guy's. His sword is red with the blood of his enemies. Oh, this guy got hit pretty hard. But man, it's just Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. What a great game. Come on there. Oh, he didn't go for the melee hit. That looked like an enemy. See, and at this point, you got to run down the enemy, so it's like, yeah, I would want to be on a horse for this, or at least have a few arrows to try to hit them as they run off. He's looking for some opponents, but the advantage of dismounting is you can get a lot of pretty good melee. look at his friends riding right by him. Think about that. If you saw a horse bearing down on you, would you be a little bit scared? I think I would. So, anyway, guys, just another thing, like another big thank you. Because I'm at E3, I'm getting this footage, I'm doing this stuff because basically we together have built a pretty amazing community here on this channel. And I get, and that offers me, look at how many arrows he's taken. One in the stomach, two kind of in the shoulder regions. And here is like the statistics page. You can see how your different units, how many you had, how many died, how many fled, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, let me know what other games you'd like to see. Do you want to see more of this? Do you want to see some more Sea of Thieves? Let me know, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.